Hello and welcome to another episode of Circular Insights podcast. My name is Lijin and I am your host today. I'm very happy to actually be joined here with a new MOU partner of Circular Business Association, which is Greenlyf Foundation. And we actually have the founder of this foundation, which is a non-government organization focusing on climate advocacy, climate capacity building, and green jobs in universities for Indigenous and strategically extending its reach into refugees due to the growing needs. So welcome, Mr. Samuel Kusasira. So Mr. Samuel, yeah.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah, actually, Mr. Samuel is a lecturer at Makerere University Business School, located in Kampala, Uganda. He's also a PhD candidate of energy economics and governance of the same university. And Samuel is a co-author for the 2025 GPEI Climate Spotlight and currently supporting Uganda with their NDC 3.0 update process as one of their national experts. So we're very happy to have you here to also sort of explore what this MOU means for both our organizations. I'm also very happy to share that Mr. Samuel actually is also working alongside Climate Compatible Growth UK and previously had worked at Save the Children International as the Global Climate Program Coordinator. Lastly, he's also a member of the International Association of Energy Economics in the US. So it's great to have you here, Samuel.
Thank you, Lijin. I am happy to be here, happy to be interacting with you, but also most importantly, happy to be partnering with CBASS on such a profound journey of sustainability. So glad to be here with you and I look forward to this conversation. Thank you.
Oh, that's great. Now, for some of the listeners who are not familiar with the jargon MOU, it refers to Memorandum of Understanding. And it's actually a tool that our organizations use in order to basically tell people the intention of collaborating and how we hope to collaborate between our respective organizations. But essentially, I think it would be great to actually share a bit more about Greenlyf Foundation. What is it that you actually do? And I'd love to then chip in what Circular Business Association brings to the table as well in this MOU. Samuel, do you want to share a bit with us?
Yeah, thank you for this opportunity. Really, Greenlyf Foundation is a nonprofit, just as Lijin Chin has said, and we work with universities, particularly in Uganda, and also we work with the indigenous communities. And what we work on is particularly doing climate advocacy from an informed perspective, training non-practitioners, people who are not part of the huge movement of climate change and environmental conservation, non-scientists who are not aware of actually the different cycles of the climate and the global warming. We introduce them to the climate basics, and from there we draw them closer to understanding the green economy and how it can be used to business sustainability, income generation, job creation, and resilience. But also we support innovators to deliver green jobs. And we've noticed that in Uganda, particularly young people are leading the journey for innovation, and businesses are taking up innovation as a very key tool to deliver services and customer products. So because of that, we know that there's an opportunity in growing jobs, especially in the green sector, but innovators struggle to find the right tools in terms of human capital, knowledge base, financial resources, and advisory services. So Greenlyf is a hub that provides an opportunity to mentor young innovators, but also create an opportunity for scaling up innovators to benchmark and share their product, market their product, remodify their product, but also giving an opportunity for a new generation of innovators that is going to come by giving them an opportunity and a house where they can rethink into a community of practice and think about their ideas and their products to make them more sustainable. So that's what we stand for. And this is Greenlyf, just to conclude, is an outcome of a global University Climate Forum project that was done in 2019, 2020, up 2021 with the University of Yale, USA, that culminated into a community of practice at the university, and eventually the founders and the young people that were part of that project thought it wise to have a sustainability plan for such brilliant innovation, and that's how we come up with the Greenlyf Foundation as an organization for going concern. Thank you.
Wow, that's a really interesting sort of take in terms of how the foundation actually grew from a very, I would say it's a university project, but now it's actually formally an association itself, a foundation itself, sorry. Yeah, and who you surround yourself with really makes a big difference, I think. Yeah, when you were sharing about, just having that space, being around the people that could empower you or any innovators or young people to actually pursue this, not only as a charitable, noble cause sort of direction, but actually to look at it from a professional business or, their future careers and things like that, livelihoods. I think it's a really good take in terms of scaling and accelerating a lot of the climate action that we need globally. I'll chip in here a little bit to share a bit about Circular Business Association, because when you were speaking there, I was really sort of excited to know that we were actually able to form this MOU with y'all. It's the first partnership we have in Africa as an entire continent. And although Circular Business Association is registered in Malaysia, we actually play more globally. So it's really great to meet sort of like local players who have such strong connections and direction in terms of where they would want to pursue the climate action, and then us as Circular Business Association being able to then connect more of these local-based organizations to the global world, global networks, so allowing even more talents, even more innovators, suppliers, vendors to actually come together to form that ecosystem that could build and accelerate a profitable circular economy. So Circular Business Association, we actually just started in 2022, and our mission is to solve the climate crisis and create a livable world by accelerating the transition of businesses into a profitable circular economy. We use circular economy as the sort of philosophical foundation because we realized that in the past, a lot of sustainability agenda has been about using less, doing less, impacting less. But when it comes to living and being alive and livelihoods, people still need to use products and services. They still need to find a way to make a living. So therefore, it conflicts with this fundamental messaging of being less. So we're trying to see how can we actually create a regenerative and restorative system that the more that we use, the way that we use is different. And because we are using, it actually creates a better world. So it's not about just doing less bad, which is what the recycling economy in this picture shows. But circular economy really is about building in a lot more good from the beginning intentionally, and while also doing less bad. So that's a little bit of a chip in of Circular Business Association. We work with vendors and suppliers to increase their customer base. We help bring people together so that we can solve problems in more totality. So product bundling or joint product development facilitations. And last but not least, working to help regulators and policymakers implement the sort of directions that they need to create a profitable circular economy. So we're really pushing the implementation phase, not so much the conceptualization part anymore. A lot of our peers have done really good job in doing that, and we are focused as an ecosystem builder to push the implementation and get things done.
No, welcome to you. You're welcome to Uganda. Welcome to Africa. I think we need this like yesterday, and we look forward to pushing the entire vision between the two organizations to a long milestone to ensure that our communities and the world we serve is a better place.
Yeah, that brings me to my next question, I guess, which probably is on the audience's mind. Obviously, there's synergies and touch points, but perhaps what was the motivation behind wanting to form this MOU partnership, and what are your hopes to achieve, especially given like the challenges that you're trying to solve? How do you see this MOU partnership being able to help you in that journey?
Yeah, I think to start with, I want to dwell more around Greenlyf to even answer the reason why we feel motivated that this partnership is going to help drive the vision of our organization and your organization that you work with. Greenlyf is a lifestyle that is focusing on greening the world, greening our environment, greening our workplaces, greening our incomes to deliver sustainability. And looking at CBASS around the circular economy brings in a correction to the notion that resources are scarce and makes it more realistic realization for most of the manufacturing, service industries, and all the people within the value chain of business. So as Greenlyf, we think this partnership is going to propel a new generation of innovators, businessmen, innovators, inventors, and industrialists that can deliver much and a little resources. Currently in Uganda, there is a thinking that resources are abundant because we are in the tropics and have a lot of natural environmental systems. You can see in my background, I am depicting a very furnished beach. Uganda has the biggest freshwater lake in Africa and the second biggest in the world, Lake Victoria. And the purpose of us having this abundance of resources has actually been violated by the production and manufacturing industries. We find businesses locating into the swampy areas, businesses encroaching on the water bodies, businesses encroaching on swamps that are supposed to be filtration, businesses encroaching on the dense forests because they feel like that is wasted land that could be converted into manufacturing, and because of the lack of the sustainability. So looking at circular economy, it helps to propel the green jobs, but in a more sustainable way, where we don't waste a lot of things, starting from the food we have on the plate to the products that we produce into the market. I imagine a day when we can be able to live with plastic, but in a more friendly way. Why don't we have our plastics that are produced recyclable? But you're going to find that currently less than 40% of the plastic produced and consumed in Uganda can be recycled. The other ends up on a landfill. It ends up being buried in the soil or being flared, all running into the water bodies. So we want to have a thinking before you innovate your new substitute for the current plastic. We want to ensure that what is being innovated now can be recyclable at least to a tune of 90%, because the government has tried to ban plastic. But actually, they have not succeeded, because by them banning the plastic, they are banning the jobs also within the plastic economy, but also they ban the flexibility of carriage by the consumers. So consumers would always want to go where they can spend less and also maybe have a portability of a movement of the products that they're having. So now the question is, if we can't deal away with plastic completely, then how do we live with plastic amicably without it causing the impacts that we are seeing today of flooding, global warming by the people who flare the plastic, and also maybe the unguided dumping of plastic to maybe recycle the economy? So we know that CBASS is bringing on board something very instrumental when it comes to impacting people on ESG, especially producers, manufacturers, financial institutions that are giving loans to these investors, such that it becomes more of a requirement or a way of life which is Greenlyf, that can actually help to propel the next generation of businesses into a sustainable direction. Yeah, thank you. I
Yeah.
thought that is important.
Actually, when you were saying that, like it sort of brought up a few other thoughts in my mind as well. And just for the benefit of the audience who may not actually know of circular economy before this, I love to use that example where you're saying, businesses are encroaching into swamp areas and they're thinking it's wasteland, and it's sort of like the filtration ability of these natural resources are basically getting lost as we haphazardly just plonk a big sort of construction of cement there and then use that to support produce products. And when you're looking at it from a circular economy standpoint, what if the plonking of this facility in the location, number one, didn't actually disrupt the filtration ability of this natural system, but actually made it even better? Right. So let's say your body, your kidneys are a filtration system. And because you are consuming certain things, for example, maybe vitamins or the type of food that you're having is not so high in in salt content, it actually helps the kidney filter better, become healthier. Right. It gets the proteins that it needs, it gets the fats that it needs, it gets the carbs that it needs, but it doesn't go to a point that causes kidney failure. So when we're looking at, circular economy, I really like using the analogy of even our own bodies to think about it. What if, all these businesses or manufacturing plants that were working with these swampy areas to make these filtration processes and the natural resources actually regenerate and restore itself even better? Not just like, oh, we need to keep them out of it, not allow them completely to interact. So then your example about, how do we live with plastic amiably, fit really well for me, because I was like, yeah, that's really where the circular economy is talking about, is that when we put more intention right from the beginning, instead of it being an afterthought, then we have the opportunity to have a healthier relationship with whatever material it is, or have a better relationship with whatever organization it is. And that applies as well into our own sort of personal relationships as well, like who we surround ourselves with, who we collaborate with. I think when we have a clear intention that this is the win-win we're working towards, then there's the opportunity to therefore create a completely different outcome. And plastics, I think, like recycling has been pushed for a long time as the way of solving it, but because it's the intention is that it's still an afterthought, we'll create the plastic first and then we'll figure out how to recycle it. Therefore, the recycling doesn't happen effectively. And what we're really talking about here, and the crux of also where circular economy thinking is that what if we had thought about this right at the beginning? How are we actually going to deal with this, the thing that we're creating? So like, for example, we know of some manufacturers, they're thinking, okay, if plastic is most likely going to be leaking into certain waterways, like they get into our rivers, they get into our seas, is there any form of plastic equivalent that is water soluble, and when it is water soluble, it does not cause the toxicity and actually could actually make that environment even better? Now, some people, I think this is like a pipe dream, but this is where people are finding breakthroughs, right? To put in more intention at the beginning, and therefore solving a lot of so-called problems at the back end from the root cause. Another example I like to share is like when people say, you have a wound on your hand, do you actually want to, just plaster it and plaster it and plaster it? Or do you want to actually figure out what is causing the wound to not close properly, right? And once the wound can close properly, you don't need so many plasters anymore. Yeah.
And actually, yeah, and you're using a very good analogy. I think in most of cases, especially within the climate space, we have thought that instead, when the wound is sick, just cut it off. The hand is sick, just cut it off. And I think that's where we're finding resistance with the business community. But we need to find ways of how do we plaster and treat the wound very well, without really necessarily cutting it off, but not making it also itch and cause pain to the body. So I think what is the missing link and the challenge that we are facing currently is the lack of knowledge within the business leaders on how to use sustainability as an endowment for creating more benefit to the company. And you're using the examples of how you can actually use the wetland without necessarily affecting the ecosystem within there. And maybe what needs now to be thought about by these industries that need the water for cooling is actually how do you benefit the wetland that you need for water for cooling without necessarily dumping soil and compressing it to become a land area for digging deep into that. And then you turn this water as a business, you can actually generate more power within just creating, keeping the water the way it is, keep the running of the water the way it is. And I think this is where circular economy and ESG comes in to think of the innovations. And as Greenlyf, we think capacity building is very key. Training of our business leaders, the investors, the financiers of projects, the young innovators, it becomes very important, and pushing the agenda of circular economy with economic sustainability and coming up with the models that really work and can bring endowments and incomes to the business people is going to be very important. And this is the reason why we think this partnership should be able to deliver value to the businesses and value to the planet beyond just the business as usual, where only people think about cheap land, in bracket, affordable land at the start, with long-term costs, both to the humans and to the business in maintaining themselves around endangered areas. Thank you.
Yeah, I'm glad you brought that up because I think like sometimes in conversations with people, they almost have a vilification of businesses, to say businesses, are bad. When you said like, if something is sick, just cut it off. If these businesses are bad, we should just cut it off. We should boycott them. We should not allow them to survive and everything. And to some extent, it's part of the survival mechanism. Right. I think there are some parts, some organisms, some species in the world also that when things can't be fixed beyond, they just cut it off and then they try to regrow something. But essentially, when we're talking about businesses being a necessary part of our life, is because I think at the fundamental basis, business is trying to solve people's problem while also finding a way to survive so that you can continue solving people's problem. Right. And therefore, I love when you say that it's not so much the intention that I'm just out there to go and get as much money and then that's it. Right. There is another group of sort of like thinking of business owners, of business entrepreneurs that truly want to actually solve people's problems, but they may not know how to utilize ESG or circular economy to achieve that. Right. So it would be like, if I could, I would. But I don't know, so I don't know that I could. So then why would I pursue it in the first place? So raising that type of awareness and providing that training, I think is a very important part of it. And something else that also Circular Business Association, we bring to the type of programs that we run, for example, the ESG Ready certification program is also the coaching component of it. Because we realize that although people have the knowledge of it and they know what they should do, actually taking action and doing it is another leap where we need empowerment, where we need nurturing, where we need support so that people can actually go ahead and take the action. So by working also with different practitioners out there that work on inner alignment, not only as individuals, but also inner alignment as entire teams, as entire organizations, entire businesses, we can actually help people break through from the belief systems or the mindsets that have been holding them back, right? So to be able to look at the ESG sort of information out there, anyone can go on YouTube now or go on Google and find a ton of information, but there's just so much. And if you're not clear on what is the motivation to do it, then it becomes very hard and you don't want to look at it anymore. So
That's
I
very
think
true.
yeah, so I think it's really interesting, like what you brought up there, about these this way of thinking about it. I also draw on that what you were saying about, you know, people actually need livelihoods, and when you cut people's livelihood, you create resistance, which is something I think the climate space or even the sustainability space has unfortunately moved too much in that direction, whereby we disregard the livelihood aspect of it. And therefore, when we're looking at businesses, we seem to say you should do ESG, even at a loss. But the business needing to survive in order to create the impact it creates still needs to find a way to profit. So if we keep doing things in ESG that's only a loss, how are you expecting them to survive?
Just maybe to
ahead.
interrupt at this point. So could you let our listener get to know what is more unique and interesting with the CBASS ESG model, and how does it profit the business person? Are we going to think about this as a profitable venture, or it's going to be more of the business as usual? If it doesn't work, cut it off. If it has an impact on the environment, cut it off. How do you clean up what you're doing to make sure that it is a better business than the way before? Without, of course, there will be some things to cut off into the systems, but not totally cut off and people sent back home to just survive on their own. But is there a difference in how we think of businesses can sustain themselves? The investors and the shareholders continue to earn money, but doing justice to the environment and the society that we live in. So I think we just need to listen. What is unique?
Yeah, I think like when we start looking into how we have approached the whole thing, is that profit needs to be a main thing that we need to talk about from the beginning. And I think that already deviates from typical sustainability related costs, right? So we focus on what is it that we can enable this business to make big, amplify all the good stuff that it represents, and then minimize all the bad stuff that it represents, while making a good profit so that it can grow and it can deploy its impact to even more people, right? So from that perspective, let's say the ESG Ready certification program, we're looking at helping businesses understand, number one, how they are affected by ESG. That is a business risk that they face. And then secondly, how they are affecting ESG, which is where the potential opportunities could emerge. And then we need to look at it from 4 different aspects of strategic advantage. It's not just about compliance, which means sticking to the laws and regulations. It's also about cash flow, which is about the profits part of it. How are you actually going to plan out a way to recover whatever investment you've made into the ESG part, be it for environment, be it for social, so that it helps you get more resources to grow the impact that you represent? Now, of course, that's where the circular economy, I think, comes in really nicely, because that's the question. What impact do you represent? How are you delivering that impact? Now, for example, the easiest way for us to solve climate change, some people may say, would be that more wars fought, all the nuclear bombs blast off, and then half the population of the world dies, and climate change is solved, right? Because the problem doesn't exist anymore. But is that how we want to achieve it? No, especially when it's our own family members. So therefore, we have to find a different way to be more creative about how we are actually delivering that impact, how we're actually making the money, right? So making money isn't the problem. And I think from the upfront, saying that straight across differentiates what CBASS is doing from a lot of people already in the sustainability realm, right? That recognition. Now, the third part is actually competition, which we want to find strategic advantage to say, okay, how can we use these things, even if it is a cost at the moment? How does it build up that competitive edge or a competitive barrier so that I have a better chance at playing in this market? All right. So it might not actually be profits in terms of just monetary profits. It could be other forms of benefits whereby you actually killed off or cut down competition so that you will be able to earn that market share. And therefore, when you're making changes and things like that, you're more likely to have that scale to achieve that. You have stronger voice even when interacting with policymakers and regulators. Right. So there's the competition strategic advantage as well that we want to be able to help business owners do. And the fourth is actually the cost of capital, because financiers are facing a lot of pressure actually to know where their money is going to, and what people are doing with their money. Regulators are going for them. So they are actually turning back to these businesses and companies and saying, if I'm going to give you money, be it as debt or equity, or other forms, then I need to know that number one, you'll be able to give me back my money. If not, I'm dead. And number two, that when you're doing that process of trying to get me back my money, the impact you're delivering isn't basically causing harm to environment and society. That becomes my liability because I may get sued as the investor. Yeah. So when we help businesses approach this topic of ESG from the outset of what is your impact, what is your risk, and where are you likely to be able to profit, then it becomes easy when it comes to what's going to get cut out, what needs to be changed, what needs to be redesigned. Maybe there's a different way of making money. For example, a company specializing in light bulbs, globally, you might have seen their brand, the Philips brand, Philips light bulbs. We've all used it at some point in time. They actually came up with a business model completely different from selling light bulbs. What they sell is light, which means that they can produce higher quality light bulbs that can last even longer. But for every high quality light bulb that costs more to produce, they can squeeze out more profits from it so that they can actually put it back into the better quality design of servicing people with light. So I think when we look at it from that perspective, it opens up this whole sort of like toolbox that you can go and play with to figure out where you can cut out, where you can add in, where you can redesign. And that's a really exciting way to look at business, to deliver performance and solve people's problems.
This is wonderful. I wish CBASS was here in Africa, like 10 years back. Africa would look a different place. And we welcome you once again to Africa, and look forward
Thank you.
to working with you. Yes.
Oh, that's great to hear. Oh, Samuel, I'm just very curious, how you actually got on your journey to solving this. I know this was born from a university project and everything, but how did you even get involved in the first place?
This is a personal story, and it's a sad story, but also it has a lot of childhood experiences, which are good stories. For the biggest part of my early life, I think the biggest part of my life, 20 years were spent in a village setting with a natural environment, low emissions, a lot of plants around. So usually for us, the green environment was a source of food, it was a source of energy, it was a source of water, it was a source of medicine, name it. I even remember chasing grasshoppers as a young kid, as a veg for a meal. So growing up in such an environment, and in 2012, moving from a village life to an urban life in the city, Kampala, as an undergraduate student, the shift in the lifestyle had a long-lasting impact on my own health. For the first time, you come to the city, Makerere University Business School is in a division that has too many industries in the corridors. The hostels where students go, they're actually near the industrial area, one of the biggest industrial areas in Uganda. So I get in contact live with the dirty particulates from the neighborhood industries that were next to our hostel every day, 24 hours, but also living there for the next 3 years of academic life. Now, in my second year, I realized an infection that was respiratory, seemingly closer to TB. So I go to the medic and they take a scan of my lungs and they see spots of dirty kind of, the lungs were really having a lot of dirt around them. The statement that I usually remember the doctor telling me, the doctor told me, Samuel, you need to watch your lifestyle. And to me, the lifestyle was like, what does that mean? He says, either you have a TB that we need to treat immediately, like that one was like immediately, because we see also in neospartum, there's this and this. But also, two, if you're smoking, you need to watch out, you need to mind your life. Now, I have never held a cigarette, sorry for people who really do it as a flavor part of their life. Apologies for entering within that spectrum. But it was like, then what do I need to do? Do I need to run so much? Do I need to cover my nose? What do I need to do? Do I need to live in a different place? And actually, I was put on treatment for 6 months non-stop. I used to be a healthy young man. Ever since then, I lost my weight and I have had to regain it, maybe because also life comes with other needs of thinking too hard and working hard as an African child. But also, I have continuously now, I have a condition, which is an allergic condition to where I have a lot of issues when it comes to coldness now. I feel like I can choose to cough the entire day if I don't cover myself up. So because of that, I thought the future generation, our children, are actually even going to face worse off if businesses continue to work business as usual. And it's after getting to interact with energy and environmental causes that I actually noticed that the effect I was suffering from was due to the lack of investment in carbon sequestration and decarbonizing industries, which is actually causing the flaring out of all these fuels and allowing the fumes to go up in the sky, taking too long to do repairs and maintenance of the factories, that actually ends up producing the particulates and haphazard combustion within the engines that actually is impacting on people. So because of that, I thought I should be more of an advocate for change, but also a leader in empowering the business owners and the investors that are here and those that are to come to be aware of the environmental externalities, but also the dehumanization of that the work that industries do unintentionally or intentionally has on the long-term lifestyles of people that live around them, beyond just paying the money to as a salary, but also in terms of the cost into medical bills and the cost into changing livelihoods, especially when it comes to encroachment on land that could be maybe a fishing ground for the local community and turning it into an industry. So that actually pushes me to this, because I have lived with the benefits of environment. I am now living with externalities that businesses have on environment. And our children, if nothing is done, they are going to live in even a worse more, because now you find that actually children in the villages, a limited number has issues to do with allergies. Children that are living in the urban areas, if you were to take a census or a study, you're going to find that a big percentage of them is going to actually have allergies, either due to coldness or allergies due to the particulates and air quality that actually they are inhaling, which is actually an indicator that something wrong is happening and something good must be done to reverse such impacts. Thank you. So that's actually the motivation. So the motivation is more personal, The motivation is more of a sustainability. How can we do business today without affecting the future generation, but also without impacting on the livelihood of both those who are into business and industry, but also those who live off the environment. And that's what Greenlyf for us means.
Wow, thank you so much for sharing your story. Yeah, I think like why people do what they do is actually a very important part of conversations that we need to have. And this is something I feel doesn't get done enough in the sustainability realm. Regardless of the volunteers or the sustainability officer or that procurement officer or that person who is actually doing the maintenance of all these repairs and things. I think when we can connect with each other's stories, it gives a much stronger attachment towards what you do and why you do it. And that sense of responsibility feels completely different. And I really like when you said, just thinking about your own experience of it. I'm very sorry that, you have to live with this condition for the rest of your life. And actually why I started Circular Business Association with a number of other business owners, it also came from a very personal motivation on my part. Because when I delivered my first born, it was right in the COVID pandemic, and everything was locked down. Everything was shut down. And obviously you could see things like in the news say, oh, the skies have become blue again in some places because industry has stopped, but at the same time, there's all these other things that's already happening. Tensions are rising when people can't get their work done, or they're, being made redundant. They're not getting any form of compensation. There's I guess tension also over resources when supply chains got disrupted, right? People are wondering where they're going to get certain types of foods or certain things that they need in their day-to-day living. And for a long time, I have been involved with environmental related work since I was 9. And I've done it for myself, my own future, right? I didn't want to face the scary effects that everyone keeps telling us will have when the climate sort of situation happens, or when pollution happens, or when situations like yourself of being exposed to pollutants for such long times causes damages to our health. I really didn't want to face those type of effects for myself. But when I was holding my daughter, and she was 5 months old, and she looked at me with this pair of eyes that became so clear and so trusting, I really asked myself, like, is there more that I can do? Because I can't afford to lose hope. If I lose hope, this little baby in my arms has no chance. And no matter how hard I try with this breastfeeding, no matter how hard I try to raise her to be a resilient little girl, she's not going to have a chance if I lose hope and I don't find a way to create a world that keeps healing itself. And I think that personal motivation was what spurred me to write to all these different business owners I got to know over the years, so that I had to tell them about, what it is that we needed to do to help their businesses transition better, faster, and at a bigger scale. And something that propped up in their mind consistently was there's a lack of ecosystem. We're all going to the green business on our own. And not only do we have to fight the unsustainable existing companies, we also have to fight the green companies because the pie is so small and we're just trying to fight for a bit of that pie. So the intention was that if we actually came together with the common value system, that we're not trying to fight over a small green economy pie. We're actually trying to work together to grow the whole pie, so that essentially all of us would be able to move our businesses into a sustainable model. And by doing so, avoid that situation whereby we look at our children and say, I actually knew what I needed to do, but I didn't do it. Yeah. So that's a bit of the story from Circular Business Association. How
This is very interesting. It is interesting to see. I think that's the kind of love that our generation needs to have, and I think that is the whole concept of sustainability, of not only thinking about your needs now, but thinking about the needs of even those that are going to come after you. And I want to appreciate you, Lijin, for even just looking at your baby in the eyes, and you're thinking of what more can I do? And you don't only think about maybe buying your baby a toy to play with, but thinking of leaving a legacy that your child can be able to look up to, but also those friends of your children and the people that don't know your children are actually going to benefit from. And I think that is actually what ESG should do. And I think we are not wrong to partner with CBASS, because we feel like what is joining us in Africa, we call it Ubuntu. I am because you are, is what it means. And I think ESG perspective should actually extend beyond cut it off to how can we do it better to impact positively the current and the future generation. Thank you.
wow.
I
Thank
think
you.
the mood is changing, but I hope we can be able to sustain this even longer.
Yeah, I think as partners get to know each other even deeper, I think more and more you will see it comes back to the value systems that we hold. And I'm very happy that with Greenlyf, we actually have such close sort of value systems that would bind us together. I think at the end of the day, when we pursue any MOU partnerships, what we do probably will change over time because needs change, because the situation changed, because the type of people in the team changed. But if at the core of it, the value system, the reason that we actually came together is still intact, and can be revisited. It's always good to revisit and touch base and see how things have changed between us. But if that is intact, I think what we do is almost secondary. It will always end up delivering something more positive for everyone involved, but also the people that we are servicing. Because at the foundational level, the intention has been set correctly. And I think the circular economy really helps people reconsider this. When you're pursuing ESG, when you are pursuing sustainability, what is the intention? What is the purpose of you actually doing what you do? A lot of people say, when you get to the end of your life, you take nothing away from this world. No matter how much money you made in your life, you can't take it away. So therefore, the question is, what is the intention of making so much money in the first place? What is it you're trying to use the money for? And I think by getting clear on that and aligning with your inner being and allowing your team to be more human and aligned to their inner being, you give a different purpose for money making. And by having a better intention from the start, your money making will deliver better performance and better impact to people and also to the environment that holds people within it.
I wish you could say that again, but it's okay. It is a very clear. Yeah, I think, yes. Why do we have to make a lot of money?
Yeah, why do we have to make a lot of money? Why?
That's
What does money do? What does money do for us?
I hope one day we can be able to get a more clearer answer for sure. But yeah, at the end of the day, businesses want money, and we need to give them solutions to make more money, but in a better, good way, and also to leave a good legacy. Thank you. That's a good one. Yeah.
Well, we've reached sort of like the close to our end of our podcast. So I'm just going to ask you one more part, which is, if you had a magic wand, what would you want most happen? What would you want most to happen in the coming few years in relation to what is it yet you are pursuing now?
A good question. And sometimes you need to take a breather to really think about that one good thing, because there could be too many, but you have to pick one in a bucket. In my bucket, I think what would be the most important thing is creating green jobs for the many millions of unemployed young people on the African continent. If we can provide models for businesses that can help them deliver services and employment opportunity, raise income, raise capital in a more sustainable way, and deal with the poverty issues of the African continent, particularly by focusing on employability of young people in the green sector and making the green sector attractive for investment by reducing the cost of doing green business. If ESG can be our ESG training, CBASS partnership can be able to support businesses deliver that, then we would, as Greenlyf, our mission of resilience building through capacity building and supporting innovation for green jobs, we would have attained it. Once that can be accessed, if through the training and through the capacity building, we can create at least 2 million jobs among the companies that we shall work with in the next, say, 10 years. And that can be attached to the influence of the training that we are going to deliver, but also have our partners, the companies we are bringing on board, our clients, sustain their businesses and even grow them bigger, but in a more sustainable way, I think we would have achieved. And that's what we are looking for. And that's why we've called upon CBASS to partner with us to deliver this for the African continent. Models that work, models that create jobs, models that sustain businesses, models that make businesses proud of what they are doing, both for the community, the economy, and the environment.
That's beautiful. Thank you, Samuel, for sharing that. Yeah.
Thank you.
From CBASS perspective also, we also have the goal, I think, to replace our all unsustainable linear economy products with sustainable circular economy products in the next 4 to 5 years. For some people, they think it's impossible. But I think if a goal doesn't scare you a little bit, then it's probably not a goal worth fighting for. So, yeah, thank you very much for being part of our comrades in pursuit of that mission. Really looking forward to seeing how we can support the achievement of your mission as well. We are very much in sync in terms of, trying to find a way for livelihoods to be an important part of the pursuit of ESG and sustainability. And that looking forward, there's much work to do, and it's exciting and definitely stimulating sort of process to be in. So thank you very much for being part of our journey at this point in time.
Thank you so much, Lijin Chin, for having the opportunity. I apologize just in case I've had difficulty in calling out your name. But beyond just that, what should a Ugandan businessman, a banker, a manufacturer, an academic, a business advisor be looking forward to, especially within our partnership with CBASS? What is, as CBASS leading the capacity building through ESG in partnership with Greenlyf, what should they look forward to in this?
Well, our first activity, and I will shamelessly share it, is actually we have an upcoming webinar on the 16th of October. It is titled ESG, Environmental Social Governance. Is it a business threat or a business advantage? And I really encourage no matter which sector you come from or whatever profession that you're in, you should be at that webinar to at least update yourself on what has changed in this ESG realm and where it is presenting risk and opportunity for businesses. There is a lot of material out there that could be shared, but I think fundamentally, these are going to be the key things that you need to understand first in order to pursue whatever it is specific in your sector. So 16th of October, there is going to be various posters that shows the registration link. I will also be at the bottom of this podcast episode if you would like to register for that event. Otherwise, you can also follow us on our LinkedIn page. We also have a Facebook page and a WhatsApp channel for Circular Business Association. Similarly, Greenlyf also has their website and LinkedIn, I believe, which we also put the links in this podcast episode, should you need to or would like to contact them in advance. If not, we'll see you on the 16th of October, 2025. And I think subsequently, what we'll do is there'll be a number of additional webinars that we will do. But most importantly, it is the ESG Ready Certification Program Level 1 and 2 that I highly encourage you all to join in and understand deeply where you are in this ESG journey, how you can make this your strategic advantage, how to have those type of conversations that you need to have with the people within your value chains, and how to actually use data and being prepared with the data to back up all the claims that you are making. So that's essentially a quick nutshell of it. You will have seen also on our Circular Business Association LinkedIn page, we have a series talking about the harmonized guidelines for circular economy finance, purposely described in a way that is as layperson as possible, so that it doesn't matter which sector, which profession you're from, you'll be able to understand why these guidelines are an important type of document to have and how to actually use it for the advantage of your business. So with that, I hope that answers your question.
Yeah, no, that is very profound. Fellow Ugandans, people in the diaspora, people within African continent and beyond, please don't miss this opportunity. We trust this is going to transform your business. Please come, listen in. It's going to be a free of charge initial conversation. But beyond everything, the world is running into where we are developing our skills and getting qualifications. So this is one that you can choose to bag in on your CV and become part of the movement that will lead the sustainability. Thank you so much. Happy to meet you, CBASS team. Greenlyf is proud to work with you, and we look forward to more interactions. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Well, with that, thanks again to all the audiences who tuned in to our Circular Insights podcast. We'll see you in the next episode. Bye.
Bye. Bye-bye.